Top 7 reasons why Americans regret moving to Belize. The most interesting reason is saved for last. Stay tuned. Many Americans move to Belize thinking that it's going to be extremely cheap. And Belize can be very cheap depending on where we live. However, the Americans choose to move to Placentia, Caye Caulker, San Pedro. You know what all these 3 places have in common? They're dominated by expats, which means the cost of living is quite expensive, significantly more expensive compared to any other part of Belize. So set realistic expectations in terms of cost of living. Realize that these places are very small. Caye Caulker, of course, is only 5 miles long. San Pedro is 26 miles long. So interestingly enough, rent does tend to be cheaper on San Pedro. These are islands, so you have to barge everything here. But of course, things are going to be a lot more expensive than the mainland. Then we have gentrification. In my opinion, Belize still is very much affordable, way more affordable than the United States. But we're not Nicaragua, okay? It does not cost $3 for breakfast on in the most touristy part. We're more expensive than that. Yeah, so just set your realistic financial expectations. Reason number 2 why Americans regret moving to Belize. Island fever is a real thing. You know, if you're not used to living in a small space, you have to get used to the gossip. In Belize, we call it chisme. Sometimes you have to deal with the crab in a bucket mindset. Nothing you do is private. People aren't used to having rumors made up about them because usually they're just nobody in their home country, right? Or the town that they're from. So being the center of gossip or having nothing kept private about your life tends to be a hard thing to adjust to when you come from a big city, and if you wanted to have a one-night stand, nobody would know. Unfortunately, that's not the case in Belize. Let me tell you a story. When I was in high school, I kissed a guy at the bus station. This was in Belize City. And then I was taking the bus to go meet my dad in Orange Walk, which is an entire hour away, right? He shouldn't know, anything or anyone there. By the time I got to Orange Walk town, my dad asked me who the guy was that I kissed. I know, the place is so small, but it is what it is. And after a while, it just becomes like white noise in the background. You get used to it. Reason number 3, foreigners get frustrated with island time, especially if you're coming from Europe or the United States. People are efficient, every minute counts. Hello, the job will not get done by itself. You said you would be here by 8 o'clock. Where are you? 2 more hours and then I have to catch the boat. I have somewhere to be. Very frustrating. Oh my goodness. The work ethic is way up there versus in Belize. We're pretty lax, we're laid back. We're not about that go culture, which means people tend to get frustrated. And truthfully, even I get frustrated sometimes. But then I remind myself why I moved here, because I myself like being relaxed and laid back and having more time for myself to do things. And the same goes for the other people as well. So while it can be frustrating, go slow is the motto, baby. Reason number 4 why Americans regret moving to Belize. Well, they come here, they're enjoying themselves, they love paradise, but they have their kids and their grandkids back home that are being born, and then they're just so sad that they're so far away from family, missing out on important events. They find themselves making regular trips back to the US until they realize, you know what, I just want to sell everything here, go back home and be with my family. I'm getting older, family is what matters most. So make sure you think about that before taking the plunge and moving back to Belize. Reason number 5 why Americans regret moving to Belize. They are so adjusted to their first world amenities such as overnight shipping with Amazon, Costco, where they can access any kind of grocery they want. Of course, everyone loves a good little Target and Wally World, right? Target and Walmart. We definitely don't have those here, guys. But honestly, shopping in Belize has gotten a lot cheaper than it used to be. We do have, for example, like fake JBLs and stuff, way cheaper than in the US. But the good thing is that when you're shopping here, you're supporting local. You don't have much of a consumeristic mindset like you do back in the US. You realize that you can do so much without all these things. For example, kids born in the US, if you think that they need all these things before you go into labor and give birth. And then I remember when my niece in Belize was born, I was asking my dad and my stepmom and my little brother, oh, what all are you guys getting? All they got were some baby bottles, some diapers, a swaddle blanket, a crib, and that was it. I was like, wow, it's so much cheaper to have a baby than I thought. But when you're in the US, you just feel like you need all these things, and sometimes you miss it. Sometimes you miss having access to to these things instantaneously, but yeah, some people can't handle it and they need to move back. Another reason why people regret moving to Belize is because of the lack of infrastructure, and frankly, I don't blame them because I myself am frustrated with it. Our government, the Ministry of Infrastructure, Housing and Development, hardly pours anything back into the community. That's why we have so many problems, especially when it rains. The entire country is basically flooding. You have them building these makeshift canals that just make the streets absolutely a million times worse. It's so dark everywhere, especially at night, which makes it dangerous for the highways, the streets, and everything. And after a while, you know, you're paying taxes, especially on your gross income. You would expect that the government would put effort into infrastructure, and they don't. So you know what? I don't blame you guys for being frustrated, because truthfully, I am as well. But then I think, all right, I can move back to the States and spend $1 million on property tax like they do in New York and Pennsylvania and all those places. And actually, I don't want that either. So you know what? I'll take Belize and their lack of drainage and lampposts. I'll take that trade-off, because at the end of the day, I still love my lifestyle here. But I can understand why, you know, Americans get frustrated. And finally, number 7, the main reason why I see people move back from Belize to the US is because when they move here, they think their life is officially a vacation. And it's pretty easy to fall into that trap, especially if you live somewhere, you know, like on San Pedro or Caye Caulker, because it can easily be a party every day. If you don't control yourself, you can see you're gonna meet someone, they're gonna offer you a beer, and next thing you know, you spend the entire day just socializing, hanging out, and it happens every day until you realize that you've kind of lost your sense of purpose and you've lost, you know, your productivity, or that basically you lost that internal driving force that gives you something to look forward to every day, and you kind of fall into this I'm on vacation permanently mindset instead. And then you blow through all your cash. You've aged about 20 years in a span of 2 years, and then you need a sense of normalcy again. You need a more controlled environment. You need more structure, and somewhere like the US kind of forces you into that structure, you know, versus Belize, which is a vacation spot. And without knowing your purpose here, you'll make the mistake of thinking you're on a permanent vacation instead of finding that balance of purpose and relaxation. These 7 reasons why Americans leave Belize. If you've thought through these 7 reasons and you've decided, okay, being here part-time is more conducive for you, or being here full-time truly is what you want, and you're able to find your purpose and that balance that you're looking for, then reach out to me, Giselle De La Fuente, Premier Realty, and I will help you from beginning all the way to the end with your relocation needs, from finding your property, transitioning, just whatever help you need. Contact me today.